So in my opinion, 50 to 75% of what makes pianists sound good is their pedaling, for better or worse. I remember a time in graduate school I was working on the Chopin Barcarolle with my teacher, and I just got started with it, and I played the opening for him, and he said, "Oh, your pedaling is terrible." I don't recall anyone saying anything to me about how to pedal. So I said to my teacher, I said, "What should I be doing instead?" And he wrote out this very complicated pedaling, which I'm going to show on the screen. It's got a lot of holding notes down and half pedals, and it took me a week and a half to learn how to do it. But once I did, I was much more skilled with the pedal, and I felt like my sound really improved. Pedaling really shapes your overall tone. It makes a big difference in how much emotional impact that your playing has, because it's affecting the richness of the sound that you make. Many students that came to me for lessons had almost no instruction in how to pedal, and they were playing relatively advanced pieces. Most of the instruction they had was use it. That was the extent. Use the pedal, or use it more, use it less, but nothing very detailed and explicit like what I'm going to be showing you in this video. And it's so important to know these things. It made such a huge difference in my own playing that I'm very passionate about the pedal. And I also love the resonance of the piano, and you get a lot more of it when you're using the pedal. Most people have no idea that it's their pedaling that makes their playing sound messy, blurry, or overly dry or choppy. Sometimes the sound kind of disappears and it comes back and disappears and comes back. And I'm going to be demonstrating some of the causes of all those sorts of problems as we go through this video. Very few people realize that if you don't have control of your pedaling, that's what causes you to hold down notes when you don't need to, because you don't trust your pedaling to hold that note down for you. And holding down notes can cause a lot of tension. It can cause you to choose fingerings that are much more awkward than what is actually necessary. So learning to trust your pedaling, learning to really understand your pedaling will free up your technique. And who doesn't want that? So what does the pedal actually do? And just for clarity, we're talking about the right-hand pedal of the three pedals here. Then when I say pedal, that's what I'm talking about. That's another video what the other two pedals do. So what happens when you push down the pedal is that the dampers go up off the strings. And since the dampers are off the strings, they're free to vibrate when the hammer hits the strings. I'm not that familiar with what electronic piano is, how the pedal works. I did see one video about a Roland electronic keyboard, I believe, that indicated that it did mimic some of the effects of the pedal on an acoustic piano, but I'm definitely not knowledgeable about that. It probably depends on which electronic piano you have and which pedal attachment you have also. When you play a note, the sound keeps going because the key is keeping the damper off of the string. And when you let go of the note, it puts the damper back down on the string. I'm going to demonstrate again with a lower note. So I play the note, the key is keeping the damper off the string, I let go of the note. Sound stops. If I have the pedal down, I play a note, I let go of the key, the sound keeps going. But that's not all that's happening. When I have the pedal down and I play one note, lots of other notes will also be vibrating, and this is called sympathetic vibration. So for a nice example, I'm going to play one note silently, and now I'm going to play this low note really loud. So I don't have the pedal down and put my foot here. And now we can hear the volume of the other note that I didn't play. I'm going to play another note. And so the playing of the low note is making these other two keys both vibrate, even though I didn't play them to make any sound. And that's an example of how using the pedal creates more resonance and more richness in your sound. Now, it doesn't work for all the keys. If I hold down some other notes, I'm holding down A and E, and I'm going to play a C. Nothing happens. There's no resonance. But if I hold down a C and a G, I'm going to get some resonance. There's a specific relationship between the notes that causes some of them to vibrate more than others. And it's basically the notes of a major chord, which is important in deciding where and when to pedal, and also how dissonant or not dissonant it will sound. Putting the damper pedal down and bringing the dampers off of the strings, it's if you don't have your hand on a bell and you ring it, the bell rings. And then when you put the damper pedal down, it's like putting your hand back on the bell, and that will make the bell be quiet. That stops the bell from vibrating. That's what the dampers are doing. They're stopping the strings from vibrating. The right way to learn how to play what we call syncopated pedaling, I'm going to show you that now. It is the most common kind of pedaling that you need to know how to do. It's pedaling that connects one sound to the next, so that it's actually what you're doing with your foot that creates a connection or a legato quality to your playing. I teach it in a way that's slightly different than how I think it's usually taught. There's a link in the description where you can download this graphic I'm going to show and keep it on your piano to help you learn or relearn your pedaling using this different way. And what's really crucial when you're learning your pedaling is that you do each part of it slowly so that you can really tune into what it sounds like. Because in the long run, we want your pedal foot to be very integrated with what you're hearing. And that's what makes for truly artistic pedaling. Partly it's just because if you're listening more closely, you'll hear more detail, but it's also because when you go to a different piano in a different room, if you're listening, you can adjust your pedaling. And every piano, the pedal, how much you put it down and how far the dampers come off the strings, that's very unique to each piano. It's a little bit like the clutch or the accelerator in a car. They're all slightly different. How much pressure causes how much result. So this is the way I like to teach it. When you're just starting this exercise I'm about to show you, or any piece where you use the pedal, you want to put the pedal down first before you play a note. And the reason that's true is because once we play a note on the piano, the sound is really loud to start with, but then it gets quiet very fast. So if I play a note without the pedal down, I'm going to play low note because it's easier to hear. So if I play a low note without the pedal and then quickly add the pedal, so I play foot, I'll do it again without talking. That's one sound. But if I put the pedal down first, and now I'm going to play the note, the beginning of the sound, more of the beginning of the attack of the sound is caught by the pedal, and there's more resonance. And the resonance, again, is coming from that sympathetic vibration. So when I'm first teaching people to do this kind of pedaling, I always want you to put the pedal down first before you play the first note. And I think that's a little unique. I learned that from this one very grumpy guy. It was the best thing I learned from him. It was this one tip. And it's one of the few piano tips that's easy to implement. You're not doing anything yet. You could just put your pedal foot down and then start playing. So it doesn't require a lot of multitasking to execute this tip. Once you have the pedal down, then you're going to play a note. And I recommend doing it with a pencil at first. That way you're not tempted to accidentally or without being aware of it, connect notes with your fingers. We're trying to learn to connect them with the pedal. So we don't want to have the fingers getting in there and making things less obvious. So play a note with your pencil. And then play another note. And now we hear the two notes. And now I'm going to take my foot up and back down. And I was holding the second note with my pencil the whole time. So now it's still ringing when I put my foot back down. I'm going to do that again. So pedal goes down, play the first note. I'm going to play the second note. Foot goes up, back, down. And now we hear only the second note. I'm going to play another note. We hear two notes. I bring the pedal up. We only hear one note. I put the pedal back down. Now I can let go with my hand. The notes are connected. So this is the basic syncopated pedaling exercise to learn how to do it. If you have never done syncopated pedaling before, I would work with the pencil. And the important part is that you bring your foot up slowly and that you make sure that you're bringing it up after you play the second note. I'm going to do it again. So I'm bringing my foot up really slowly. So this first note goes away slowly. And the reason I like to have people do that is I want you to be tuning into what is happening to the sound as you bring your foot up slowly. Bringing the foot up slowly is something that's a very useful thing to know how to do, because you can use that effect in pieces. I'll give a demonstration a little bit later in the video of where you could use that effect. What most people want to do is they want to, and then they want to instantly jump into doing the play and then the foot up, down very quickly. The body doesn't learn like that. You should learn it slowly to make sure that the sequence is correct. That way you're going to learn the proper timing, that you play the key and then the foot goes up and down. And that's why it's called syncopated, because the pedal is not actually going with when you're playing the note. That's what syncopation means. It's something that's off the beat. So if the note is the beat, the pedal is off of the beat. Now, in a lot of music that has printed pedalings, they show it's like a line and then it shows a little pointy arrow and then it has the next line. The pointy arrow thing is almost always right under the note, which I think is really misleading. For my younger students, I would always white that out and draw it a little bit over past. The note was here and the little up-down thingy was not directly aligned under the note, because you should not be trying to put your foot up and down at the exact same time that you play the note. And the reason is that it creates stress. The key goes down very fast, but the pedal does not. And so if you're trying to have them happen at the exact same time, there's a feeling of hecticness, and it's much more difficult to make sure that they happen at the same time. I had a student who had studied at Indiana University, and she sounded very good when she came to study with me. She wanted to learn some movement stuff. And then somehow we got on the subject of pedaling, and I explained this to her. She came back a couple weeks later and she said, "This has revolutionized my playing. I was always stressed out about the pedal. Would the pedal be at the right time? And now I'm not stressed out about that. I can listen more. I can concentrate on other things. How's my phrasing?" It's been such a relief. So that's the basis for my recommendation, that you don't try to do them both at the same time. It's more difficult than necessary. And once you're good at this exercise, once you get used to it, it's very easy to speed up so that it's much quicker. It's play, pedals down first, play up, down, play up, down, play up, down, play. So the foot is very close after when I play, but it's not at the same time. So I'm going to demonstrate some of the most common errors that people make with pedaling. Here's one error that you get. Like that. So what I'm doing incorrectly in terms of creating a legato sound is I'm bringing my foot up before I play the next note. And so there's a little gap. Foot goes up, and then the note goes down. Foot goes up, and then the note goes down. It could be the right thing for a certain piece, but if you're trying to make all the sounds connected, that's not how you would do it. And then the other thing that will happen, you play the note, and then you play the next note, and you don't bring your foot all the way up. You bring it up a little bit, but you don't bring it all the way up. And the notes start to get all smushed together. It's been a muddy sounding. And often that's happening because the person is not listening. That's why I said the whole thing about bringing it up slowly when you're learning it. You can learn and listen. Am I bringing it up all the way? That you definitely need to be doing that. It's not the case that if you just play the notes and then make sure you're moving your foot, but that's going to be sufficient. If you're not bringing it up enough, you won't have a clean sound. So those are the big two problems. The first one is because the foot is out of sync with the finger, and the second one is because the foot and the ear are not connected. So I thought I'd give some examples of using the slow up and down, and also an example of when it sounds really nice to put the pedal down before the first note. So the example for the slow up and down is Clementi Sonatina. This is Opus 36, number 1, the Andante movement. So you would put the pedal down before the first note. and that's going to sound better. I'm looking at my pedaling here, and since this is a classical style piece, I would be pedaling more often than if it was a romantic style piece. So that brings up the question, how do you know when you're supposed to put the pedal up and down? Lots of music does not have marks. So how does the person know? You change the pedal usually when the chord changes, when the actual harmony changes. So in this particular case, because it's classical music, I'm actually changing more than that because I want a thinner sound. But if I was playing romantic music, like after Beethoven, basically, I would keep the pedal down probably for several measures to get a richer sound. But this, I want a thinner sound. So I put the pedal down to start. Now I'm going to change here for a thinner sound. Change. Change. So that's a place where I like to have people do a slow up. Slow up. And I put it back down here because it's nice to have a pedal on repeated notes. Otherwise I get... And it sounds different than all the other notes around it, which I don't like. I don't like that effect, personally. Slow up, pedal back down. And another place I love to do a slow up in this piece, it's in measure 22. I'm going to start in 21. So that's nice there, because the left hand has a half note. And I bring the pedal up slowly, so you get this effect of the sound dying away. I'm going to show it where I'm doing not a slow up, where I'm just doing a pedal up, down on every quarter note. It's more abrupt. It's not bad or anything, it's just, in my opinion, less elegant. Another example of a place that is nice to put the pedal down before you start is the Chopin Nocturne Opus Posthumous C sharp minor. So if I start without the pedal down, that's different than if I put my right foot down and then start. I'll do it again. So here's, I play and then I put my foot down. And here's put the foot down, then play. This is an example where I was saying when you know how to pedal well, it increases the resonance. It burnishes your sound. It makes it more, it's like beautifully polished old brass. Or, yeah, that's what that sounds like to me anyway. So a place where getting the pedal timing to happen exactly at the right moment is even more important is when you have a rolled chord. And I have one student who's working on this piece right now. This is the Rachmaninoff Prelude in D minor. And he can reach this rolled chord, so what he does, he puts the pedal, I'm not sure exactly when he puts the pedal down, but he's definitely holding down all the notes of the rolled chord because his pedaling isn't that great and he isn't confident that the notes will be in the pedal. So his hand is very stretched and he's often missing the note at the top. Or sometimes he chips the bottom note because he's stretching and he can't quite get it cleanly. So then there's something like this too, where it's supposed to be one note at the top, like that. And then another thing with rolled chords is, where does the bottom note of the chord go relative to the pedal? You want to put the pedal down when you play the bottom note of the chord. So in this particular example, you could go, put the pedal down. You could do that. So what I'm doing is playing the first note of the chord, and then I'm adding the right hand after I play the low note. Like that. You could also play the right hand with the bottom note of the chord. I wanted to play the D louder. Or and it's really a matter of personal taste which one you do, but what is very important is that you put play the note and then put your foot back down and catch that low note in the bass. And doing that will free you up so you don't have to hold all these notes down. And in this particular piece, which is pretty cool, is when you release the low notes, your hand will be perfectly set up to play what's next. It works out great. Here's another example where people are often holding notes down that don't need to be held down, and it can create tension in the hand and stretching. And this is the Schubert Impromptu in G flat major, opus 90, number 3. And it says in the Urtext edition, in measure 1, it says pedal. So you don't have to feel like you're dishonoring the composer by using the pedal here. And in my opinion, you do not need to hold this first note. You can play them and then let go. And a lot of people, when they come, they're holding this note down. And it's difficult for them to play the inner notes quietly enough. It's much easier when they let go of the melody note. So as an example of what I was referring to when I said, if you're using the pedal, it can free you up. Another example from this piece is measure 4. So here I'm in measure 4. Now, if I think I have to hold this G flat down until I play the B flat, my edition says to put my 4th finger on the G flat, which is okay, and then reach over here to the B flat. To me, that's a work that is not necessary. Let go. Get there early. Get there early. And there's another row chord. So I'd play these two together, pedal up, down, then jump over here. Get there early. Play the right hand pinky, left hand pinky together. Oh, that's too loud. And then the thumb in the left hand, etc. I know some people feel very strongly that you should be holding all these notes down for the full value. It's a matter of opinion. I don't think you need to. If the pedal has the damper off the string, I don't think in a lot of repertoire that you need to have your finger also keeping the damper off the string. Now, sometimes it creates better movement. Sometimes it does feel better and you're able to make a more beautiful melody if you do hold the note down. So it's not like it's wrong to hold the note down. It's just sometimes it's completely unnecessary and causes problems. And if your pedaling is good, then you can decide when you want to hold the note down. So I already talked about this a little bit in the Clementi Sonatina about the bringing the pedal off slowly. The way that you release one note before a rest, it changes the quality of the rest that comes after. I'm going to use an example here. This is again from the Chopin Nocturne, opus in C sharp minor, opus posthumous. So if I do this, it's very abrupt. I'll do it again. And now I'm going to let the pedal off gradually. And I like that effect much better for this piece. Then there's other pieces where it sounds really good to let the pedal off really fast. And that's when you want to have, it's when you want a much more dramatic effect, much more suspenseful. That's when you would have that kind of release. This example is from Schubert Impromptu opus 90, number 2. So I'm got this very exciting coda. And I personally like that very abrupt. Because I feel like that's part of the drama of the piece. So it starts off so happy. And then you get into this very dark, kind of fiery middle section. And we're expecting Major to come back. Major does come back. And we're expecting that there'll be a happy ending, but there is not. There's this coda that's so dark and dramatic. So I like to have it super chopped off at the end. To me, that adds to the drama of the piece. It also happens a lot in Beethoven, that because he's very dramatic, when he has those stormy moments, it can sound very good to abruptly cut off the pedal and create a sharp beginning to the silence. So an analogy to what letting the pedal off gradually sounds like, it's like dimming the stage lights gradually at the end of a play rather than suddenly turning them off. And both would be appropriate depending on what's going on stage. Another pretty advanced type of pedaling I wanted to talk about is the flutter pedal. And again, having learned how to bring the pedal up slowly when you learn your pedaling will help you with learning how to do things like the flutter pedal and the half pedal. So this example is from the Schubert Impromptu, again, Opus 90, number 3. In the right hand, I'm playing chords. So that sounds okay together. That sounds okay. Those notes are all part of the same chord. But the left hand has a trill. And if I keep the pedal down for that whole trill, it gets pretty thick. I'm going to do it for you where I keep the pedal down for the whole trill. And I delayed the change on purpose there. And Schubert has marked that it's supposed to be getting quieter there. So now I'm going to do a flutter pedal. So watch my foot. I'm going to be going up and down like this with my foot, kind of like you're driving up to the stop sign and you're kind of tapping the brakes. You don't want to like slam on the brakes, but you're just sort of tapping them. Or maybe you're somebody's tailgating and you're tapping the brakes. That's what the flutter pedal basically is. So here we go. Flutter pedal. So I'm going up and down. It's not that important. I don't need the pedal really for legato here. It's very easy to connect. And the left hand's playing completely the legato, it's doing the trill. So it doesn't really matter if I bring my foot up all the way or just part way. It's unimportant. I'm just trying to get the dampers to sort of tap the strings, and that will make them gradually have less resonance, and that will help me get my diminuendo in there. So I think that time I kind of just brought the pedal up at the end of the trill. And that gives me my diminuendo. Partly when you're playing Schubert and Mozart, their piano did not have the same kind of relationship between the octaves that the modern piano has. So the older instruments, they didn't have this big complicated metal frame because the technology didn't exist then to make this big piece of steel. Wasn't happening. And so the strings are less tight. And so then when you hit the string with a hammer, it's not as loud. And also the strings were not wrapped with wire the way they are now. So the modern piano, when we go down the octaves, it gets louder. And when I used to try to teach the children the high and the low, some of them would say, I don't get it. I think this is the soft and the loud. And they're right about that. This is the soft and this is the loud. And it's the worst with a 9-foot concert grand. Anyway, back to Schubert and Mozart. So in their music, you have to be very careful about the pedal, because on their piano, you could pedal all you wanted and it wouldn't get too loud. But on the modern piano, it gets too loud, like that example I was just showing you. Another Mozart example, and I struggled over this a lot when I was in graduate school, this one. So it's supposed to be forte, but if I actually play the left hand really loud, it's terrible. It sounds really bad. And so I have to play the left hand so it sounds energetic, but I can't play it that loud, and I have to be feathering out the pedal so it doesn't get too thick and cover this poor little note that's all here all by itself. And I've got, I think it's 2 per beat going on down here. So I got 8 of these to 1 of these, and these are already much louder. Wiggling my foot will help with not covering the melody note. So a nice analogy for the flutter pedal, it's like letting the air out of a tire if you overinflated it. You're blowing up your tire, you're just generally guessing that you get it to approximately the right place, and then you have to check the pressure. And sometimes you overshoot, so you're going to be gradually letting out that pressure in the tire until it's exactly at the right PSI that you want. Same thing with this flutter pedaling. I'm like gradually getting rid of the sound in the pedal. Another kind of pedaling that's very good to know about is called direct pedaling. Direct pedaling means that the foot and the hand go down together. And it's definitely something I use a lot when I'm playing ragtime. So I'm putting the pedal down here with my hand. And then I'm going to come up like that. Down. It's hard to play and talk. Up. Down. Up. Down. Up. So I'm using the pedal to emphasize the downbeat and make it stronger. The pedal can function as like a spotlight in a play, right? The spotlight goes on the thing that we want to really emphasize. And so the pedal can do that for us in a texture that's less connected. Like the ragtime, I'm not trying to connect anything. It's not supposed to be connected. I'm using the pedal to emphasize things. It's also good sometimes in a waltz to do that, like... You could also pedal the whole measure, it's fine. It's not wrong or anything, but it's just another way that you could pedal a waltz. And when you're playing a waltz, it's nice to vary how you pedal. So you're not playing the exact same pedaling every measure. It can get very repetitive sounding if you do that. So I got my music out, and I'm going to play for you the pedaling that I decided on for this waltz. And it's not up and down on the downbeat. So I put the pedal down before I start. Now up down here. So what I did there is I was like up, down, up, down, up, down, and now up. I had a lot of trouble teaching that to people. It's very complicated. It's up, down, up, down. Because I don't like that. I want, because there's the repeated notes in there and I don't want a space. I want, instead of, I like it more connected there. So that's an example of a kind of complicated pedaling and how it changes the character of the waltz. I'm going to play it now where I do an up, down, just once per measure. I did a change there on the last chord because the chord changed. Anyway, I hope these examples of different ways to pedal different pieces create some ideas for you, get creative juices flowing, and don't forget you can download that free diagram of how to learn the syncopated pedaling, or how to refine your syncopated pedaling so that you really got your ear connected to when your foot goes up and back down.